Hello, I'm Elizabeth Conley, a senior interview coach from Interview Skills Clinic. In this video, I want to help you answer difficult questions that you don't know the answer to. However much we prepare for an interview, there's always going to be questions that throw us, and I think this often lowers our confidence in the interview, but also adds to some of that interview anxiety. Today I'm going to show you how to answer a competency question when we really can't think of an example. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video with friends and colleagues who are struggling with interviews. Okay, so are you ready? You can pause the video to try and answer the question yourself, and then come back and you can listen to how I'd approach it and see how you got on. Okay, so tell me about a time when you did something for the first time and it worked, and then when you did it a second time, it didn't work. So you can pause it and try and answer it. Okay, how did you get on? I think this is a typical question that actually could throw many people. So what could you do if you're stuck? Well, firstly, you can write out some key words from the question. Most people don't do this, but actually it's very easy to forget the question as anxiety starts to kick in. So secondly, stay actively engaged in the interview. By speaking. There's a real tendency to sit there in silence, desperately trying to think of an example. Instead, because you've written down the question, you can start to repeat the question back. Okay, tell me about, so the question was a time when I did something for the first time and I understand it was fine, but then when I did it a second time, it didn't work. So just by repeating the question back shows them that you're interested in answering their question directly. So thirdly, tell them what you're thinking. Now, I know none of us do this, but there's a real tendency to think we can't do this, but you can. You can engage in just the same way that you would do in an everyday meeting at work. This is a really unusual question. I'm not sure that I've thought about this before. I'm sure there are times when I've done this. Let me have a think about it. So while you're thinking, so you're going to tell them that you're thinking rather than just sitting there silently. Because when you sit there silently, the heart starts to go, the anxiety increases, they're sitting there waiting, they don't know what the problem is. So as soon as you start to talk, it sort of frees up the mind so that you can answer the question. Take a drink of water. I'm just going to have a think about the question. Have a drink of water. Okay, normally just by doing those things, you're going to start by engaging with the question and by talking to them, then the chances are that you are likely to have started to think about an example in your mind, okay? But let's assume that hasn't worked. Your mind is still completely blank and you can't think of an example. Okay, so the fourth thing that you must do is to start to explore the question aloud, reframing the question. Now, let me show you what I mean by that. I'm not sure I can think of a specific example immediately, but, I just wonder why you're asking me this question. I mean, if I've done something for the first time and it's worked, but then it didn't work a second time, I suppose it could be about problem solving, or maybe coming up with a new solution to a problem, or dealing with the setback. I mean, I actually really enjoy being innovative, and I've got a really good example of how I came up with a solution to a problem just with the team just a couple of weeks ago. Would you mind if I share this with you? So you start, and you haven't got an example of innovative, but you've got an example of problem solving or dealing with a setback, or however you've sort of started to reframe the question, then you can tell it to them in this way. And the chances are 90% of hiring managers are going to say, yeah, absolutely. That'd be great if you could tell us an example of this. Because you've got to remember, the questions are written normally from an HR person or a department. They've got set questions in place. They normally sit under their values or a competency framework or a value-based framework. And as long as you have directly engaged with the question and you have really demonstrated that you can answer a similar behaviour question, then this is going to be absolutely fine. In fact, I think they're more likely to be impressed with the way that you've handled yourself, how you've stayed calm, how you've engaged with the question, because most candidates do not listen or answer the question directly anyway, but instead just regurgitate prepared answers. And that's one of the reasons that many candidates are losing marks. So I hope this is really helpful. Next time, I'm going to look at how to answer a situational question which we don't know the answer to, which I think is even more challenging. If you would like some one-to-one coaching, you can find out what's involved with our coaching, and you can, it's up here, I always get it wrong, you can book a free consultation with us, and we have a coaching video there as well, or check out the video below on how to answer an influencing question, because that's also very useful. Okay, until next time, bye-bye.